before starting with the real content, I like to ask a few questions to all of you. You can give your answers in chat. So the first question is, have you used Netflix? That's, oh yeah, I can see yes from Vipul Adhikari and no from Susan Sakya. Yes, yes. So yes, no. There are quite a few yes and quite a few no. So my answer for this question is a big yes. Yes, I have used Netflix. And another question is, how was the experience? I repeat, my question is, how was the experience of using Netflix? Yeah, very good. Hate it for being addictive. Yeah, nice one. For Netflix. Now, name one TV show or movie or documentary you have watched using Netflix. I like to see chat for the answers. I'm getting no answer for this question. It's okay, I'll give you my answer right away. I have watched a wonderful series and documentary using Netflix. There are few I have mentioned here, and I'm sure you will all enjoy series and movies using Netflix. So I'll move on to the next question. One thing you like about Netflix? Yeah, I have not watched Flash, but I have watched Lucifer. Yes, it was very good. Yeah, I've watched Sacred Games too. Yeah, recommendations, obviously. And my answer for this question is skip intro, because we can skip intro for every series. Yeah, that was great experience for me. So now, without any further delay, I'd like to go introduce my contents. Since the Netflix is a huge topic in itself, I have narrowed my topic of interest to these subtopics. First, I'll be talking about the history of Netflix, and I'll be talking about the architecture that Netflix has relied on a lot, that is microservice architecture, and how chaos engineering experiment is performed in Netflix. Also, how A/B testing is performed by Netflix for improvement of user engagement, and finally, a short briefing about freedom and responsibility culture adopted by Netflix. Now, let's move on to the first topic, that is history. It's quite an interesting story. It's quite an inspirational story how the founder of Netflix, Reed Hastings, got an idea for Netflix, because he was charged $40 fine for the movie Apollo 11 by the very popular DVD renting company back then, the Blockbuster. So in the year 1997, the Netflix was founded by the founder Reed Hastings and his partner Mark Randolph. In the year 1998, the website was launched with 925 movies available to rent. Back then, the movies were sent to the customers through the use of mail and returned the DVD in the same way. In the year 1999, they launched the monthly subscription where each customers were allowed to rent some number of movie DVDs. And also in 2000, in the era of DVD itself, they offered personalized movie recommendation. This was quite impressive for Netflix. And in 2003, they got 1 million subscribers for their company. And the vision from the very beginning, that to introduce streaming from the website itself, came true in the year 2007, where it delivered the content available in the DVD. Now, from these years, the expansion began to other countries, other continent, and year 2010, expansion was done to Canada. And in 2011, the expansion was done to Latin America and Caribbean. In 2012, it was done in Europe, starting with UK, Ireland, and in the Nordic countries. In 2000 till 2012, the content Netflix delivered was solely based on other production companies. So in 2013, it released its first very own content, House of Cards, which is a very successful project for Netflix, and also the profile feature was released back then. In 2014, it announced that 574% of the growth happened in Netflix over the 5 years, and expansion began in further Europe, Belgium, France, Germany, and so on. In 2015, the expansion was done to Japan, Australia, and New Zealand. And finally, in 2016, Netflix was officially worldwide and started to offer originals for kids. And 2017 was the 20-year anniversary for Netflix, where it won the first Oscar for the documentary The White Helmet. Now, in the year 2020, Netflix currently have 8,600 plus employees, and it is available in 190 plus countries, also having the content of 3,781 plus movies, and they are available in 20 plus languages, and with the subscribers of 195.94 million plus subscribers. This is huge for a company, and the journey for Netflix has been very successful. Yeah, for the huge applications such as Netflix to build a robust, scalable, and strong system in itself, they were guided by microservice architecture. Before looking about what microservice architecture is, let's look at what monolithic architecture is. Here, from the diagram itself, we can see that the application is divided into user interface, business logic, data access layer, and it is communicating with the database. Yes, monolithic architecture is the architecture where an application consists of the modules which are present in the single code base, and they are dependent upon each other. In a monolithic architecture, the app has a single code base with multiple modules there that are dependent upon each other, and they have a common database. But if we look at the diagram of microservice architecture, we can see that the application is divided into several microservices, and each microservice consists of its own presentation layer, business logic layer, data access layer, and its own data store, that is database. Now, we can say that a microservice architecture divides the application into collection of loosely coupled services, also known as microservices. So, for the communication of those microservices, the protocol, synchronous protocol HTTP is used, either or asynchronous protocol AMQP, or also known as queuing protocol, is used. So we can finally understand the Martin Fowler definition of microservice architectural style, which says that is it an approach to developing a single application as a suite of small services, each running in its own process and communicating with lightweight mechanisms, often as HTTP resource API. Now, in the year 2000, the Netflix was developing its application in the monolithic style. This was taken from the presentation given in InfoQ as the title Mastering Chaos, a Guide to Microservices. Here we can see that the load balancer and the business logic, all the databases are placed in the same monolithic code base, and it consists of monolithic database, and the architecture is quite tightly coupled, meaning they are highly dependent upon each other. The journey began towards microservice architectures in the year 2008, where Netflix experienced a major database corruption for 3 days and could not ship DVDs to their members. This was a huge setback for Netflix, so they realized that they have to move from vertically scaled single point of failures to horizontally scalable distributed system, and the answer was microservices. Yes, Netflix now is running on microservices, and the circle here, this diagram here represents the high-level diagram of microservice architecture of Netflix, and the circle here represents the microservices, and the dotted line here represents the communication occurring between them. Over thousands of microservices are running at Netflix. Yeah. Uh, and each microservice consists of the service client and the CAS system, for which Netflix uses EVCAS and the EVCAS client, and also it has its own data store, and it communicates with other microservices in the form of service client or result queue. There are several advantages microservice architecture has to offer for Netflix. The first one is isolation. Since the application is divided into independent manageable components, that is also known as microservices, the code itself is isolated, process itself is isolated. So whenever a service fails, the system as a whole does not have to fail, because there can be the replica of the same service. We can take over the place of this service, and the system runs fine. Another advantage is independent scalability. We took the example of dividing the application into 4 microservices earlier in the presentation. So I am also going to take the same 4 services for this advantage as well. So let's say we need our application to have 2 instances of service 1 running, and similarly 3 instances of service 2 running, and only one instance of service 3 running, and 4 instances of service 4 running. This is possible in microservice architecture, so the independent scalability can be achieved. Now, another important advantage is flexibility. This is very important, because each service is free to choose its own language and framework, making themselves very flexible. And since the communication occurs through the protocol, which is independent of language and framework, this has proven to be very important advantage for a huge company like Netflix, where thousands of employees have their own expertise on their own language and framework. Now, the final advantage that I have included for my presentation is independent team collaboration. Before microservices, where tight coupling used to occur in Netflix, suppose there is a development team and the team who tests and a team who is responsible to release the application. Under development team, there are several division of team which is responsible for the development of the application. Then after development is completed, the application is sent for test, and finally release can be done. This may make sense for a small project that we encounter in our daily lives, but for a huge company like Netflix, this is not quite the solution, because there are thousands of employees working. So this kind of software development is not possible. So due to the architectural style of microservices, each service can have its own development, testing, deployment, and support team, so that each service can be divided into different teams in itself and act independently. Now that we have talked about microservice architecture, I'm going to show how Netflix performs chaos engineering experiment to build confidence in its system. Yes, chaos means disorder. Yeah, this is an experimentation style where the system, where the chaos is put under the system, and we do this experiment to build confidence in the system's capability under different turbulent conditions in production. Turbulent conditions can be also termed as chaos. Yes, you heard it correct. The experimentation is done in production itself. There are 5 principles around which chaos engineering experiment is done. First, we build a hypothesis around steady state behavior. Uh, we suppose we build a hypothesis that our system would work around if some kind of failure occurs, then also our system will be giving output. This kind of hypothesis is done, and we vary the real world events, real world turbulence that can happen in the production. We run the experiments in production itself, and we don't want to run these experiments manually and go through the results afterwards. So we want these experiments to run continuously, so we automate these experiments. And finally, the goal is to minimize the blast radius. Blast radius is the impact of the failure that some kind of real world event has upon the system. Now, let's say our Netflix is deployed in AWS. Let's say our application consists of 5 microservices, and the set of microservices are deployed in North America region and East availability zone. So if this service fails, then other services might be affected by the failure of this service. So if we perform an experiment and kill this service, then we will certainly know that our system will not be working properly. So if we so from the experiment here, we can conclude that our system is not good enough, so we cannot be confident about the system. But what if we choose to deploy the same replica of services in other availability zones and regions? So here, if we perform the experiment and kill this service, then other replica can take over, and the system will run smoothly. But what happens if the whole availability zone goes down for North America region? Then also we don't have problem, because there will be East availability zone to take place of the West availability zone. In this way, the experimentation is done by introducing chaos into the system in production, and we analyze the result afterwards, and finally that helps in building confidence of the system. The way the chaos experimentation is done in Netflix is done by a set of tools. That is, they name the set of tools Netflix Simian Army. The first ever tool from Netflix Simian Army is Chaos Monkey, which kills the microservices randomly. And after the huge success brought by Chaos Monkey into Netflix, they decided to build other tools. So the next was Chaos Gorilla, which kills the availability zone randomly. And third one is Chaos Skunk, which kills the region randomly. And the fourth one is Latency Monkey, which generates the artificial delays in latency. These all kind of tools and all kind of experimentation is solely done so that we can see how our system is performs under some chaos, and we can fix the results. We can fix the things that are not working properly in our system. So now I would like to move on to new topic, which is A/B testing. This testing is done mainly to improve the user experience. It is highly adopted by Netflix. Let's look at the high-level diagram of how A/B testing is performed. Here from the diagram, we can see that the same web page is designed in two different options, that is option A and option B, and these options are presented to different set of visitors. Option A is presented to first set of visitors, and Option B is presented to the next set of visitors, and we define a goal page where each visitor is supposed to go from options to goal page, and the phenomenon is known as conversion. The highest rate of conversion achieved by whichever option is declared the winner. And here we can see that option A has higher conversion rate than option B, so option A is the winner here. Now let's look at the procedure of how how A/B testing is done. We define we have the control experience, also known as the normal user experience, where which user of the website have been facing till now for the particular web page, and we derive a new hypothesis where we can improve the user experience in that particular web page, and we run the first set of tests and the option with higher first set of tests where variations are generated in the support of hypothesis. So we run the test, and the options with the highest conversion rate is declared the winner. Now, for the second set of tests, the winner from test 1 is taken as the control experience, and new variations are created. And again, the test is run, and option with the highest conversion rate is declared the winner. Now, let's look at the example of how Netflix did A/B testing on particular web page. The hypothesis was allowing non-members to browse all the TV shows and movies before signing up will get more people to join the service. Yes, they thought that if users, even before signing up, they get to know more about what content Netflix is presenting, they will sign up. They will more likely to get sign up. So control experience was the web page where no contents is presented to the user before sign up, but whereas variations included the content which were presented to non-member of Netflix before they even sign up. The test was run in 5 different sets, and each time control experience became the winner. Yes, they thought that before signing up, if they got to see the contents of Netflix, they could generate more user sign up, but it was not quite as expected. So we can say that we can get advantages of doing A/B testing. That is, first one is reduced risk. So in the particular case here itself, we can see that before changing the whole web page by just assuming that they would get more sign up by allowing non-members to see the content, they did A/B testing. So they knew that that was not the case with customers. So they reduced the risk before even having it. So now another is, if they are to perform any analysis on the system, then it can be easily done with the help of A/B testing. And the ultimate goal of A/B testing is to generate more conversion values of the web pages. And finally, the A/B testing is done to improve the user engagement. They perform experiments so that user can engage in the system. Now we have almost reached the end of the presentation. Before the end, I would like to give a brief about how freedom and responsibility culture is adopted by Netflix. Now, from the freedom word, is freedom absolute? The obvious answer is freedom is not absolute. Like free speech, like we say that we have freedom of speech, but that doesn't mean that we speak whatever we want. So yes, like free speech, there are some limited exceptions to freedom at work. There are 2 kinds of necessary rules for freedom as well. So first one is prevent irrevocable disaster. Example of this rule is they have to prevent hackers who are trying to steal the customers' credit card information. They are not free to do whatever they want. So next rule is about moral, ethical, legal issues, and the example of this rule is dishonesty, harassment in the workspace are intolerable. Now, example of freedom and responsibility culture by Netflix is Netflix vacation policy and tracking. Until 2004, Netflix had the standard model of N days per year vacation, but an employee in Netflix pointed out that they don't track hours per day or per week, so why tracking days of vacation per year? So then they realized that they should focus on what people get done and not on how many days they worked. So just as they don't need a 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. workday policy, they don't need vacation policy. They have also quoted this sentence that there is no policy or no tracking. That means there is no vacation policy or no vacation tracking. And to justify this quote about vacation, they have given an example like there is no clothing policy, but no one comes to work naked. Yes, so you don't need policies for everything. This is the example of freedom and responsibility by Netflix. Netflix, what it does is they it hires a responsible set of people who are self-motivating, self-aware, self-disciplined, self-improving, and they act as a leader and they don't wait to be told what to do. So those responsible people are free to do their work on their own working schedule, and they are free to take a vacation. Having said that, they are also responsible to communicate whatever work they are doing or whatever work they have done, and most importantly, they are responsible for their own outcome, either it's positive or negative. In other words, what Netflix encourages its employees is to be the best person in their professional role. Now I have formally reached the end of the presentation, and before ending my presentation, I'd like to give a big shout out on these two amazing series that Netflix introduced to me. Thank you. Hello.
Hi, Spandan, we can hear you.
Oh, yes. I have ended my presentation.
Okay. Thank you so much. That was a wonderful presentation. We really loved it. Ekdamai insightful feel bio. So to all of you that are listening that went through the session, if you have any question, please feel free to drop in message. We can have discussion on that. Questions are this case how bane drop in gardinu hola. Well, Spandan, I have a quick question for you regarding Netflix and its architecture that you presented. It's a very interesting way of feel boyo. This is a non-technical question. Technical question also like Netflix could also market like you went through entire case study, you know. Netflix could also market growth. What do you believe is the most important reason for that?
Netflixको growth.
Yes. So अघि नै हाम्रो युजर्सहरुले कति जनाले चाहिँ it is very addictive यस्तो कुराहरु गर्नु भयो नि त. So user perspective wise, as a technical person, how do you think that actually made difference?
मलाई चाहिँ के लाग्छ भने नेटफ्लिक्सले चाहिँ इनोभेसनमा एकदम धेरै इन्भेस्ट गर्छ बिकज दे अलवेज ट्राई टु डेलिभर द बेस्ट थिङ द्याट दे क्यान डु अनि उनीहरूले चाहिँ जहिले पनि युजरलाई एकदम राम्रो फिल होस् युजर एक्सपिरियन्समा चाहिँ एकदमै धेरै टेस्टिङ एक्सपेरिमेन्टेसनहरू पनि गरिरहेको हुन्छ त्यही भएर चाहिँ नेटफ्लिक्स एकदम एडिक्टिभ भएको होला अनि अर्को रिजन भनेको चाहिँ नेटफ्लिक्सको रेकमेन्डेसन सिस्टम हो
Definitely. Yeah, so we have other questions as well. Do you recommend microservice architecture for e-commerce websites that are only based in Nepal?
Yes, अब माइक्रोसर्भिस आर्किटेक्चर भनेको फर्स्टमा मोनोलिथिक आर्किटेक्चर चाहिँ एकदम इजी हुन्छ इजी टु मेन्टेन हुन्छ होइन सानो खालको प्रडक्टलाई हेर्ने हो भने सानो खालको प्रोजेक्टलाई हेर्ने हो भने अनि एकदम इजिली मेन्टेनेबल अनि मोनोलिथिकमै काम गरिरहेछ भने राइट अवे माइक्रोसर्भिसमै फर्स्टदेखि जानु चाहिँ अलि एप्रोप्रिएट होइन होइन तर जब कस्टमर्सहरू बढ्दै जान्छ होइन जब कोडहरू लाइक स्केलेबल बनाउँदै जानुपर्छ अनि लाइक डेटाबेस पनि लाइक अप्टिमल बनाउँदै जानुपर्छ त्यतिखेर चाहिँ हामीले माइक्रोसर्भिस आर्किटेक्चर युज गर्दा राम्रो हुन्छ सो इ कमर्स वेबसाइटहरू अब अहिले हाम्रो नेपालमा भएको भनेको दराज सस्तो डिलहरूलाई पनि माइक्रोसर्भिस आर्किटेक्चरमा उनीहरूले मुभ गर्यो भने चाहिँ उनीहरूलाई स्केल गर्न सजिलो हुन्छ
So much for the wonderful answer. We have another question. What orchestration does Netflix use? That's from Mr. Bipul Adhikari.
Actually, मलाई orchestration चाहिँ I'm not quite sure of. तर नेटफ्लिक्सले चाहिँ भर्चुअलाइजेसन डकरको रूपमा चाहिँ एकदमै धेरै युज गर्छ तर मलाई orchestration चाहिँ I'm not quite sure of. Sorry for that.
No problem. We might get back to this on our upcoming events, something like that. Please keep following us, Mr. Bipul. Now, adding to previous question, Mr. Bipin says, how important do you think the use of A/B testing approach is? One major advantage that helps to make it addictive.
यो एबी टेस्टिङ भनेकै युजर इन्गेजमेन्टलाई बढाउन गरिन्छ सो मान्छेहरूलाई राम्रो युजर एक्सपिरियन्सको लागि नै एबी टेस्टिङ गरिएको भएरै इट्स वान अफ द मेजर फ्याक्टर द्याट नेटफ्लिक्स इज एडिक्टिभ लाइक नेटफ्लिक्स चाहिँ कस्तो सानो सानो कुरामा पनि एबी टेस्टिङहरू गरिरहेको हुन्छ दोज अफ यु हु हेभ युज नेटफ्लिक्स त्यो नेटफ्लिक्सको फर्स्टमा हामीले लगइन गर्ने बित्तिकै त्यो डिफ्रेन्ट आइकन्सहरू आउँछन् टिभी सोजको लागि उनीहरूले इभन त्यो आइकन्सहरूलाई पनि कसरी बेटर गर्न सकिन्छ ताकि युजर माइट बी इन्ट्रेस्टेड भनेर डिफ्रेन्ट सेट अफ आइकन्सहरू राखेर एउटै टिभी सोजको लागि प्रोडक्सनमै उनीहरूलाई डिफ्रेन्ट युजर्सलाई डिफ्रेन्ट आइकन्स देखाएर उनीहरूले कुनमा बढी इन्गेज हुन्छ भनेर पनि हेरिरहेको हुन्छ होइन त्यसको कारणले गर्दाखेरि त्यो नेटफ्लिक्सको माथि आउने सबैभन्दा माथि आउने रेकमेन्डेसन हुन्छ नि विथ बिग ब्यानर जसरी त्यो पनि उनीहरूले एबी टेस्टिङबाटै राखेको हो त्यसरी डिफ्रेन्ट एक्सपेरिमेन्ट्सहरू रन गरिरहेको हुन्छ जसको कारणले गर्दाखेरि चाहिँ युजरलाई बेटर फिल होस् भनेर सो यस एबी टेस्टिङ इज भेरी इम्पोर्टेन्ट अप्रोच
Another question regarding yes please go ahead
अनि अर्को कुरा चाहिँ कतिले फेस पनि गर्नुभएको होला जस्तै म चाहिँ ट्विटर चलाउँछु होइन अनि आउट अफ नो वे ट्विटरको त्यो वेब पेज चेन्ज भएर आउँदाखेरि आई फिल रियली ब्याड के किनभने त्यो हुन्छ नि मान्छेको युजर एक्सपिरियन्स हुन्छ नि त मान्छे एउटा एट्याच भइसकेको हुन्छ सो बिफोर टेकिङ अ बिग स्टेप त्यस्तो खालको स्मल एक्सपेरिमेन्टहरू चाहिँ रन गरेर युजरलाई होल्ड गर्नको लागि चाहिँ त्यस्तो एक्सपेरिमेन्टहरू यस्तो बिग कम्पनीहरूले गरिरहनुपर्छ जस्तो लाग्छ मलाई
Thank you so much. Ambrose, or same on A/B testing, or a question, sir. How can we perform A/B testing for much smaller and startup company, or do we think about it after we gain some user base? Wonder so sir.
फर्स्टमा अब एप्लिकेसन प्रडक्सनमा जानुभन्दा अगाडि नै एबी टेस्टिङ त हुँदैन होइन बिकज एप्लिकेसन बिल्ड भएको हुँदैन तर एप्लिकेसन बिल्ड भइसकेपछि चाहिँ अनि अब हाम्रो लाइक फङ्सनालिटी वाइज सबै कुराहरू सेटल भइसकेपछि चाहिँ अनि ल अब यो पेजलाई चाहिँ इम्प्रुभ गर्न सकिन्छ होइन हामीले जुन टार्गेट राखेको थियौँ त्यस्तो खालको रिजल्ट आएन भनेर हामीले एबी टेस्टिङ पर्फर्म गर्न सकिन्छ.
Yeah, thank you. We have another question from Ms. Pranita. Netflix has been known to focus more on accuracy of recommendation. They had even conducted a competition for it. However, nowadays, dimensions like diversity, novelty are considered important as well. Has Netflix been considering these factors or not during their recommendations?
मैले यस डाइभर्सिटी यस मैले एउटा रेकमेन्डेसन अबाउट ह्यापनिङ इन नेटफ्लिक्सको एउटा ब्लग पढेको थिएँ अनि त्यसपछि यस नेटफ्लिक्सले चाहिँ फर्स्टमा एउटा कम्पिटिसन नै अर्गनाइज गरेर आफ्नो रेकमेन्डेसन अल्गोरिदमलाई सिग्निफिकेन्टली इम्प्रुभ गरेको हो अनि अचेल चाहिँ डाइभर्सिटीलाई पनि नेटफ्लिक्सले इम्प्रुभ गर्न खोजिरहेछ.
Yes, thank you so much. Also, a quick question from my behalf. Since हामीले टेक्नोलोजीको लागि चाहिँ different approach बाट अहिले जसरी नेपालमा काम गरिराखेको छौं, we see very less number of companies who are working with user experience testing as such, होइन? Plus we also have less number of people जसमा चाहिँ त्यो accuracy निकाल्नको लागि testing गर्न सकिन्छ. For a country like ours, जसलाई चाहिँ मोबाइल फोन पनि हामीले चलाउनलाई इट्स अ बिट च्यालेन्ज नै भनौँ होइन. यस्तो कन्ट्रीमा चाहिँ कुन अप्रोच लिँदा अर कसरी गर्दाखेरि चाहिँ वी कुड मेक अ स्केलेबल प्रडक्ट विथ गुड युजर फिडब्याक्स? व्हाट डु यु थिंक अबाउट इट?
फर्स्टमा चाहिँ अब हामीले जुन आइडिया सोचेको हुन्छौँ त्यसलाई नै सेल गर्नु पर्यो आफ्नो कस्टमर्समा होइन किनभने फर्स्टमा कस्टमर्स नै आएन भने त्यसलाई स्केल गर्ने त कुरै नै भएन होइन. फर्स्ट प्रोसेस भनेको चाहिँ डेफिनेटली मोनोलिथिकबाटै जान्छ होला होइन तर मोनोलिथिक आर्किटेक्चर नै अपनाउँदाखेरि पनि माइक्रो सर्भिसेसको सर्टेन एप्रोचेसहरू जस्तै फर्स्टदेखि नै मोनोलिथिक आर्किटेक्चरलाई डकराइज गर्ने होइन अनि त्यसपछि लाइक डिफ्रेन्ट प्लेटफर्महरूमा बिल्ड गर्न खोज्ने होइन अनि त्यसपछि त्यस्तो गरेर मोनोलिथिक आर्किटेक्चर डेभलप गर्ने अनि वान्स एउटा युजर बेस हामीले आफ्नो एप्लिकेसनबाट गेन गरिसकेपछि चाहिँ अनि तब चाहिँ स्विच गर्न त्यति गाह्रो हुँदैन होला. तर obviously if we are sure from the very beginning हाम्रो युजर इन्टरफेस हाम्रो युजर बेस चाहिँ एकदम धेरै छ भने चाहिँ फर्स्टदेखि नै माइक्रो सर्भिस नै डिजाइन गर्दाखेरि फाइदा हुन्छ.
थ्याङ्क यू सो मच. अर्को यस अघि नैको हाम्रो जुन युजर एक्सपिरियन्सको कुराहरू भएको थियो फोकसिङ अन इट्स एक्युरेसी यसमा अर्को एउटा क्वेसन एड गर्न चाहे मैले. Could you say something about fairness and biasness in recommendation system? Let's have a discussion on this as well.
Fairness and biasness. मलाई चाहिँ यसको टपिकको बारेमा अलि धेरै थाहा भएन, सरी.
No problem, that's completely fine. Maybe हामीले जस्तै नेटफ्लिक्सबाट नै के गर्दै गर्दाखेरि चाहिँ भनौँ न जति हामीले रिकमेन्डेसन्सहरू आउँछ होइन maybe sometimes sponsor based or that would be a biased recommendations. त्यस्तो केहीहरूलाई चाहिँ there's something. So maybe we can discuss this on upcoming events. We've been
yes, certain अब हामीले machine learning algorithmsहरू युज गर्दाखेरि certain biasness त आउँछ नै हैन किनभने human behaviorहरूबाटै जेनेरेट हुने हो सबै कुरा हैन. There can be different sort of biases हैन. नेटफ्लिक्समा पनि त्यस्तो इन्सिडेन्सेसहरू भएको हुन सक्छ. But since my focus of study was not on recommendation, I cannot be sure of what kind of biases that has happened in Netflix. Maybe next time.
We have a floor open. Maybe if we love to talk on this topic, हामी सबैजना मिलेर यसको लागि next session prepare पनि गर्न सक्छौं. Thank you so much for your patience, Spandan. अर्को एउटा question छ. We get lots of Bollywood content recommendation. Maybe geolocation based biasness भन्नु भएको छ.
यस त्यो चाहिँ हो हैन, किनभने मैले पनि आफ्नो नेटफ्लिक्समा रेकमेन्डेसनमा देखिरहेको हुन्छु कि बलिउड मुभिज अनि बलिउड ल्याङ्ग्वेजेसहरू हैन. अब हामी चाहिँ इन्डियासँग लाइक क्लोज जियो लोकेसनमा बसेको भएर हामीले त्यो रेकमेन्डेसन पाएको हुन सक्छौँ.
Thank you so much for this. Do we have anything else to add or any questions that we can discuss further, Spandan? Or anybody from our team?
Yeah. अर्को एकजनाले सोध्नु भएको रहेछ, why does Netflix use geofencing? अब जियोलोजिकल मैले जियोफेन्सिङलाई करेक्टली बुझेको बुझिनँ. आई थिङ्क जियोलोजिकल बेस्ड लाइक रेकमेन्डेसन इज करेक्ट. India is not seen in Nepal. Oh. I cannot be sure of that question. Answer to that question. Yes, our recommendation the different criteriaहरूलाई लिएर गर्न सकिन्छ. अब हामीले नेटफ्लिक्सले डिफ्रेन्ट प्रोफाइल्स फिचर पनि जेनेरेट गरेको छ, जसमा चाहिँ हरेक प्रोफाइल जसले चलाउँछ त्यसले त्यही आफूले जुन कन्टेन्ट हेर्छ त्यही अनुसारको रेकमेन्डेसन पाउँछ हैन. तर आफ्नो मुभी पर्सनालिटीलाई म्याच हुँदाहुँदै पनि जियोलोजिकल बेस्ड लाइक रेकमेन्डेसनले चाहिँ बढी लाइक जितिरहेको कन्टेक्स्ट चाहिँ मेबी त्यो चाहिँ एउटा ठुलो बायस नै होला नेटफ्लिक्समा. त्यसो भए इफ यु हेभ फेस द्याट maybe I don't know, but maybe Netflix is working on it. I am not sure of that.
And then we had an amazing session knowing about what went through and how Netflix is working, उसको styles कस्तो थियो architecture wise, हामीले कसरी गरिराखेका छौं त्यो कुराहरु चाहिँ. We had a very nice insightful insights. I believe our attendees also got in a lot to know from you to get in more insight. Moving towards the end now, हामीले अहिले जसरी गरिराखेका छौं, we have had events जहाँ चाहिँ हामीले यस्तै खालको हजुर जस्तै स्पन्दन जस्तो एक्टिभ presenters or community को मान्छेहरु लिएर आएर चाहिँ we're trying to make best utilization of what we're doing and the time that we have right now at home. Moving forward, if you like the sessions that we're having right now, you can follow us. मैले अगाडि नै भनेको जस्तो GDG Kathmandu र Women Techmakers Kathmandu मा चाहिँ हाम्रो अपडेट्सहरु आइराखेको हुन्छ. Updates. You can check out updates. So regarding the feedback, we will be sending out follow-up emails. हजुरहरुले feedback formहरु भर्दिएर हामीलाई upcoming eventsहरुको लागि चाहिँ place of improvements, how we can get forward भनेर please keep forward your suggestions. Last but not the least, we have a very big event coming up soon. इसको लागि चाहिँ we would like to take in some suggestions from you guys. So we have DevFest Kathmandu coming up this next month. If please let us know what kind of sessions you want to be in, or DevFest मा चाहिँ कस्तो event भइदियो हुन्छ जस्तो लाग्छ. Please feel free to write it down in our message box. If you like sessions like today's, the way Spandan has given out, or any topic that you would like to discuss, please feel free to get this on. For that, you can go to menti.com, www.menti.com, and use code 5194000. It would be really helpful to know what you are looking forward for this, so that we can make our sessions accordingly. we're trying to best to fit in all the technologies, all the aspects and different approaches of how we can be better at the things that we do. Google ko different aspects harlai pani हामीले cover गर्न चाहिँ खोजिराखेका छौं from our side, from GDG Kathmandu, but would like to know what you are thinking or what you are looking at. Just what does it about any personal life, personal after professional works help. So what kind of topics that you would want us to bring speakers on or mentors on, just let's say long-term career it would be a help. It's all about sharing and growing together. So we strongly believe that being there for each other really means something. Please let us know. One of them have mentioned Google Cloud Platform. For all of you, I would like to humbly request once again to let us know what kind of sessions that you're looking forward to. We also have Kubernetes session recommendation. Thank you so much. We have had amazing insights from every one of you. Please feel free to write down in our social media pages or reach to any one of us in the community. Thank you so much for being a wonderful audience. Thank you so much, Spandan, for your time and valuable presentation that you have given. We really appreciate it.
Thank you so much for the opportunity.
Thank you. We look forward to other sessions as well. हामीले यस्तो केही गर्दाखेरि हजुरको support we always look forward. Thank you so much, everyone. Have a good day ahead.